So I teach college students about inequality and race in education, and I like to leave my office open to any of my students who might just want to see me to chat. And a few semesters ago, one of my more cheerful students, Mahari, actually came to see me and mentioned that he was feeling a bit like an outcast because he's black. He had just transferred to NYU from a community college on a merit scholarship. And turns out only about 5% of students at NYU are black. And so I started to remember that I know that feeling of being an outsider in your own community, partially what drew me to my work. At my university, I'm one of the few faculty members of color, and growing up, I experienced my family social mobility, moving out of apartments into a nice house, but in an overwhelmingly white neighborhood. I was 12, and kids would say they were surprised that I didn't smell like curry. That's because school is in the morning and I had Eggo waffles for breakfast. Curry is for dinner. So when Mahari was leaving, I asked him how he was coping with feeling isolated, and he said that despite feeling lonely, he just threw himself at his work. That he built strategies around his grit and his desire to be successful. A mentor of mine is actually Dr. Angela Duckworth, the psychologist at UPenn, who has defined this stick-to-itiveness of grit as being the perseverance and passion for long-term goals. Angela's book has become a bestseller, and schools across the country, particularly charter schools, have become interested in citing grit as a core value. But sometimes grit isn't enough, or especially in education. So when Mahari was leaving my office, I worried that he might need something more specific to combat the challenges that he mentioned to me. As a sociologist, I also study achievement, but from a slightly different perspective. I research students who have overcome immense obstacles related to their background. Students from low-income, often single-parent households, students who have been homeless, incarcerated, or perhaps undocumented. Or some who have struggled with substance abuse or lived through violent or sexual trauma. So let me tell you about two of the grittiest people I've met. Tyreek was raised by a single mother, and then after high school, he fell in with the wrong crowd. Raised by a single mother, and then after high school, he fell in with the wrong crowd. He got arrested for armed robbery. But in prison, he started to work hard. He took college credit courses. So when he got out, he was able to get a master's. And today he's a manager at a nonprofit. Vanessa had to move around a lot as a kid, from the Lower East Side to Staten Island to the Bronx. She was raised primarily by her extended family because her own mother had a heroin addiction. Yet at 15, Vanessa had to drop out of school and she had a son of her own. But eventually, she was able to go to community college, get her associates, then go to an elite college to finish her bachelor's. So some people might hear these stories and say, yes, those two definitely have grit. They basically pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. But that's an incomplete picture, because what's more important is that they had factors in their lives that helped to influence their agency, or their specific capacity to actually overcome the obstacles that they were facing and navigate the system given their circumstances.